Hey guys, welcome back in. Hope everybody's having a fantastic weekend so far. In today's video, we're switching it up just a tiny bit, and we are on board with Envoy. So over the last couple days, we've uploaded some different teams. Finally, starting to see some more teams scrim, especially from the likes of Octane. We got to see a little bit from Seattle Surge. So we've been kind of going back and forth, but we are on board with Envoy. We haven't uploaded an Envoy POV for quite a while, and in this scrim in particular, he played pretty darn well. So there were multiple games where he was double positive. He was 45 to 50 range. So figured even in this one, he did play well. We would go ahead, we would jump on board with him. So if you haven't noticed already from the kill feed in the bottom left, they are playing WESTR. So the top AM team that won the first 4 Challengers Cups, they did lose the 5th one, but that's what happens, right? Everybody else, the more you play, the more you catch on to what teams are doing, you simplify your strategies and you become better at executing those strategies, and it is what it is. It's the same way why I believe from the home series last year, we had like 6 different teams that ended up winning, and almost every team at one point in time, I want to say like 9 or 10 teams were in a grand finals. So that's just the way Call of Duty goes, right? Everything is Call of Duty, timing is a reason. So everything happens so quickly, and if you turn just a split second earlier or later, that could be the difference between getting a kill and losing a kill, and we all know this story. But when it comes to this scrim in particular, the maps were all fairly close. There weren't really any blowouts. First map was Garrison. They won 250 to 183, but again, about halfway through, almost all of these maps were somewhere in that 190 to 160 range, 190 to 170, where if one team just clutches up a rotation, wins that next hill, then they end up getting that 230 to 170 lead, and then that's how they end up winning. But each of these maps really did have a pivotal moment where it was pretty close. One team wins a rotation, they end up taking the map. After that was Checkmate, which OpTic has been playing really well on as of late. They only won 250 to 227, but still, they did clutch up. Moscow was 250 to 197. Raid was 250 to 214. And then Crossroads, they won this one. You'll see the end of the map score when we get there. But they did go 5-0 against WESTR, which is pretty impressive. WESTR, I know that they might not be at the same level that they were maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago when they were winning every Challengers Cup. They were taking the majority of their maps against pro teams. So it is what it is. One thing that we have to remember whenever we're talking about scores in Hardpoint, we have to remember that OpTic last year was the best Hardpoint team in the game. Now, they weren't the best Surge, they weren't the best Dom. They were top 2, top 3 in those other categories, but when it came to Hardpoint, nobody had a better record than OpTic. So when we see them beating teams like Dallas 4-1 and beating WESTR, I know that, again, it's an AM team, but beating them 5-0, and some of these other top squads that they're beating 4-1, we can't let that sway our opinions too much in terms of where they're at with the league overall, because as we saw, even in like the Minnesota versus Toronto match on that opening kickoff weekend, Minnesota lost both Hardpoints, but they won the control, they won both SNDs, and they end up winning that matchup. So that's a perfect example of you just can't take too much from watching Hardpoint scrims. Sure, you can take a bunch, but we have no idea about Search and Destroy, and we have little idea about Control, because Control is so much like you clutch up on one offense, and that's how you win a game of Control. I mean,
yeah, that guy was.
It's really the story there when it comes to Control. Sure, there's more into it, but that's the basis. So as we get into the actual breakdown of this one, OpTic does have about a 60-point lead, and they've just done a nice job of just holding rotations. They did get the beneficial spawn to start the game. They were able to get time in P1, and they held down those spawns for P2, at least initially, as it rotated over to the left-hand side of the map for P3 and P4. They were able to basically do a little bit better than split that time, maybe somewhere in the 60-40, 70-30 range. But that's how you see the lead that they have right now. And then with 7 seconds left inside of P1, they have failed at holding those spawns for P2 as it goes back on the second set of rotation. So we did see Envoy at least a couple times try to push that bottom ice side of the map. That's a great kill right there on Venom. That's a gun battle that they probably shouldn't win very often. Also a really good kill there from Paul X. But if you're OpTic at this point in time, like, that's what you can't afford, right? So let's see where they spawn here, and that's good. So SCUMP was able to trade out that kill on Gravity, but had OpTic right there, say everybody from WESTR was pushing the bottom part of the map, with like 20 seconds left of P2, had OpTic spawned over towards right here, right to the right of P1, had they spawned right there, then they might have been able to get the last 20 seconds inside of P2, but they would have lost spawns for P3, and that would have been a disaster, right? If you leave, if they were to lose these spawns, kind of just like what we're seeing right here. So this is perfectly played out of WESTR. It's how they've been able to get back in the game. It was a 120-60-ish lead somewhere in there, but they just kept pushing bottom ice. They were able to get behind P3, get a kill or two, and as soon as that happened, because everybody else from WESTR who was inside of P2 started pushing forward, they were able to capture those P3 spawns, and then Envoy comes out and he goes on a streak and he kills everybody and their best friends and their family and everything else, and now they're back inside of P3. So they haven't pushed out spawns yet, but they were able to, remember, it was like a 124 game, but they were able to build a little bit of a lead, and now the fact that they've lost spawns for P4 aren't that big of a deal, as Envoy is going absolutely insane. This is why OpTic is so dangerous, and we talk about the Shotsies, the Simps, the Abeezys, the Envoys. When you have an SMG that just has the ability to pop off like this, sometimes you just slay out, right? This was a 124 game. Envoy goes on a spree. They get 30 seconds inside of P3. They're able to win rotations for P4, not because it's all Envoy, but the dude goes off, and now all of a sudden the lead is building a little bit. So we're at that point in the scrim. I know we're a little bit late. I've talked a little bit more than I normally do, but let's go ahead. Let's listen in as we're about to rotate here into the third set of rotations.
Outer on me. Outer on me.
Nice. Should be ice spawns, right?
Yeah, ice spawns. You want to take time?
Okay. Go, cat door, I think.
Cat this. Going. Oh, outer set tires. Good play.
One spawn in the back of me, guys, I think.
Cat dead?
Yeah, I think he did.
Hold on, back door, Paul.
I have
He's in
freaks,
P2, last guy.
Mini low right. I'm hitting low right.
Yeah, I'm hitting
I'll
across
see.
cat.
Yo, deep ice.
Yo, one's crane. I'm behind.
Yeah, behind me. Yeah, one's defensive, flanking cat.
Yeah, I can shriek. I don't know.
Yeah, he's gonna be catwalk room.
I have over your
Nice job. Stay down set.
Back right, Pollux, dead. Back right again. Gravity, didn't touch him. Back right.
I'll go ASD again.
I'm going behind him.
Yeah, another one here.
I'm going cat.
P3 hurt.
Yo, stay out.
That's watch your left.
Hurt in P3 and one outer time.
I have cat.
Mid door and time.
Nothing cat. I'm shouting home. Ill.
Do we have cat?
I have cat.
One more P1. Hitting P1 late.
And I don't know, just for what it's worth, I don't love that play out of WESTR. As P4 was coming to a close, we're about to rotate over towards P1. I don't love the fact that they continue to push the bottom side of the map, because as they pushed, they continued to jump up fences. That's what gave them that back P4 spawn as P4 was closing. So now, as they try to fight for time inside P1, that's fine. Luckily, right here, they're able to gain rotations and pick up those spawns for P2, but had OpTic held those spawns, that could potentially be the end of the map, right? So I don't love that push, the continue to push at the bottom side of the map, but we'll see how it works out here. Let's listen in.
Cat, last guy, top cat, last guy. Hard block too, hard block.
Cat.
Pack on me, bro. Pack on me.
Picking up low left, Two low left, one shot, and two cat.
More time.
I spawned out behind them.
Back cat door.
I'm hitting this set.
I'm playing back right.
Go low right.
Back cat.
Go right then. Back door.
Pack cat, Paul dead.
Drop two dead.
I was not peeking. 1v1.
One guy's P1, yep.
Low left hill, low left hill.
Left hill, zap weak, and one back.
Venom
fun,
is,
yeah.
just go P1, one's P1.
He could be in new, guys. Could be in new.
I've cat.
Two P1, two P1.
You want Venom dead?
Another one there. Back left.
Falling, Zen.
Good job.
Cat, let's get it.
3. Last guy in old.
I'm in their cat.
I'm gonna streak right now. I'm gonna streak. Hang on. Streaking all P1
I
side.
got middle.
You have time? I have cat.
I might try to go cat right here.
Cat's in.
I got one P1. One P1 still.
Nothing nice.
You're cross P1, cross.
And that right there is the beauty of having streaks. So they win rotations. Formal gets 2 massive kills over towards P1, P3. As WESTR was trying to push out the top side of the map, he invests his streaks to cut off the push from the right-hand side of the map. And that is the end. And by the way, let's see if I can pause this. My word. So Envoy dropped 42 and 23. Unfortunately, we can't see what everybody else did, but he had 5,600 score. SCUMP had 6,100 score, and Formal had 6,400 in terms of damage. So, not score, damage. I don't know why I was saying score. But if we compare that across over towards the right, sure, 5,700, 5,200, 5,100. They kept it close, but that's nowhere near the slaying department when it comes to what OpTic put up there. So if you guys are new around here, make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I put out these brand new videos every single day just like this. Leave a like if you don't mind, as it really helps out the channel. And with that, we'll see you guys in tomorrow's upload.